Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and the iPhone SE has been of great interest lately, with a lot of news about possibly an iPhone SE 2 coming out, but one of the most interesting things is Apple just started selling this again. Now they actually sold out pretty quickly, and whether or not they'll continue to offer it is still up in the air, but the website is still live where they're selling this with 32 gigabytes of storage for $249 or $299 for 128 gigabytes of storage. That makes it the least expensive, newer iPhone that Apple is offering. Now, I do believe they're offering it refurbished, but for the most part, that shouldn't be an issue for most people. And this phone is actually a really great phone. In fact, this is only a couple years old, and I wanted to see how it holds up in 2019 and if you should still buy one. So the design itself is pretty classic at this point. It was introduced with the iPhone 5. It's got nice squared off edges. It's got a nice feel to it. It's got a solid aluminum build. And if we look around the outside, you'll see the volume buttons are nice round clicky buttons. You've got your sleep wake or vibrate switch rather. You've got your power and sleep wake button on the top. On this side, you've got your SIM card slot. And then on the bottom, we get to keep the headphone jack, which is really nice. You've got your lightning adapter and then speaker and microphone. Now on the back, we do have a camera and a couple bands where the antennas are, which is also nice. These are glass, and there's just a really nice quality feel to this phone. And its size is very compact, and a lot of people really like this smaller size. On the front, of course, we've got Touch ID, which works nice and fast, and many people still prefer over Face ID, although not everyone. And then we've got a 4-inch display. This is an 1136 by 640 display with 326 pixels per inch. And if you look, you can see that it does go down a little bit. It's almost like the display is not right on the surface. It's down a little bit, and it's more prominent on the white-faced iPhones where you have this little black seal or ring around it. So that's something to keep in mind if that bothers you. Just pick up the space gray version where this is a black front. You won't see that. Now, the phone itself is quite nice. It's got Touch ID, like I said, that headphone jack, and battery life, because it's running such a small display, actually is all day and then some. In fact, this was one of the best iPhones for battery life of any phone for quite a while. You'll see the battery health after 2.5 years is 88% on this phone, so it's doing just fine. This was used every single day, all day long. I just turned it back on and wiped it to do this video, but the phone itself is a great phone as far as battery life, and also the speed of it is great. It's an A9 processor, which is in the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus. And I'll show you some speed tests later where we'll check out how fast Minecraft loads compared to the XS Max. And also we'll export a 4K video just to see how it compares with the latest phones as well. Now on the back, you have a 12 megapixel camera. It is not optically image stabilized, so it is a little bit shaky, but it's 12 megapixels. It takes pretty good photos and also does 4K video at 30 frames per second. So if we go here, maybe I'll just put the XS Max here. We can snap a photo really quickly. It takes great photos, except for in low light conditions. Then you'll want to use the True Tone flash, but otherwise it takes really nice video and photo. And the video, again, like I said, is 4K capable. And in slow-mo, it will do 120 frames per second at 1080p, which some high-end cameras still don't do. So that's pretty nice as well. And also the front-facing camera is, well, not so great. It only has a 1.2 megapixel front-facing camera or forward-facing camera, so it really doesn't do a great job, but it's good enough for things like FaceTime calls and things like that. Now, also it has Apple Pay built in, which is nice, so you can use it with Apple Pay and Touch ID. There are a few things you don't get, though, and the first thing I noticed when I was using this is you don't have 3D touch, so that might be something you're familiar with, but it's basically the same as haptic touch. So if you touch and hold, it will jiggle the icons. If we go to notifications, well, I don't have any here, but if you press and hold on certain things, they will open up. It's really like haptic touch on the iPhone XR. You also have no taptic engine, and that's something I noticed pretty quickly. When the phone vibrates, it feels like one of the older phones because it doesn't have that taptic engine in it, like the XS and XS Max and the newer phones do. So it's just not as nice. It's not a big deal. If you've never had that, you won't miss it, so it's just something to note. Now with the display is nice and bright, but it doesn't have True Tone. So if we go here, we'll go to settings on the XS Max, and you'll see here's True Tone, and let's go back out to the display here. And we don't have True Tone as an option like we do on the XS Max. So if we turn that on, you'll see the whites get more paper white like. If I turn it off, most people leave it off anyway because they don't care for it, but it does have night shift as well. So if that's something you care about, it's something to note. It also does not have HDR. So if you want to watch HDR video, you'll have to use a newer OLED display for that. Now, as far as the phone itself, it's great to use, but it does not have stereo speakers. So whereas in the newer phones, they're using this speaker as one of the stereo speakers, you've only got one, but you do get the headphone jack. So I think that's a pretty fair trade-off as far as that goes. You don't get wireless charging since this is an aluminum back. You can't charge through metal at this point. So if you set this down on a wireless charger, it won't do anything, but you still have the lightning cable, and those chargers are available pretty much everywhere at this point. You also don't get water and dust resistance. So the IP67 and 68 water and dust resistance of the 7 and newer, you don't get that with this phone. And that's pretty much it as far as what you don't get. But what you do get is a pretty nice experience as far as speed. So if we go into the menus, you'll see they're nice and fast. Everything's pretty smooth as far as scrolling in most situations, and most things load really fast. So if we take the newest phone here and we load Minecraft, so let's go ahead and open that on both. And I just want to use this as a simple game representation of how quickly we can load something. So you see that opened about the same. We'll hit play. We'll create new. We'll create a new world. And we'll create. And we'll wait for it to load. So I think you'll get the idea how fast it is, or slow, depending on which phone it is. We're already loaded on the SE, so it actually beats it when loading this game. So if we walk around, can jump or whatever, everything's nice and smooth on this phone. But then there's another task we can do, which is going to be a little bit more taxing, and that has to do with exporting 4K video. Now, I recorded this video in 4K 30 using this phone to record a 2-minute and 3-second video. I've airdropped it to my XS Max, and I wanted to show you exporting it just to show you how fast or slow either of the phones are. And the reason for that is one of the most intensive tasks you can do on any phone, and that's something that's intense for even a MacBook Pro that I added on every day. That's what I'm recording this video in. So let's go ahead and get a stopwatch going here, and then we'll export this. So let's go ahead and hit done on both of these. There we go. We'll share it. We'll save the video. And we'll save it in 4K. Like I said, let me get a little stopwatch going here so that we can see what it takes. So here's my stopwatch. We're ready to go. Tap on this and we'll see what it takes to export it. And I'll speed this up so you don't have to wait as long. You'll see the iPhone SE completed it about 2 minutes and 29 seconds, and then 2 minutes and 32 or 33 seconds for the XS Max. And this is what I find to be the case in every test I've run when it comes to exporting 4K video, is that for some reason the latest phones, it doesn't matter which one I use, are a few seconds slower than the last generation phones. And this phone is not even warm in the back. When I pick it up, there's no heat. There isn't on this phone either, but that's a pretty impressive test to see how quickly that will export a 2-minute and 3-second project in over 2 minutes, just a little bit over 2 minutes or so. So I'm pretty impressed with that, and I think most people that use this phone will be pretty happy. So if you're looking for a compact or small phone and this one is too big for you, an iPhone 8 or an iPhone 7, this is the fastest phone out there as far as that goes. In fact, this might be the fastest phone due to the smaller display, and I think most people will be pretty happy with that. And one final test I wanted to run, since I get asked this all the time, is will it play Fortnite? Now, of course, if you don't want to watch this, you can jump to the end of the video, but we'll go ahead and open this up, and I'll wait for it to load. Now, it does take forever to load on this for some reason. But let me set this down here. We'll zoom in a little bit. You'll see we're zoomed in, and we'll wait for it to load, and we'll see what it takes as far as loading it from start to get into the gameplay. The gameplay is always super smooth on this device. but many of you will want to know what kind of time frame we have here. It's one of the most asked questions I get all the time. So the game is loaded up to this point. Let's go ahead and hit play. Now, I do have gigabit internet, so the internet shouldn't be a factor here when we're talking about how fast it is. So let's see how quick it match makes, and then we'll see what time it takes to load. So it may take a moment. There we go, it started to load. And we're into the game in about 30 seconds or so. So you'll see it's nice and smooth. I'm not going to play a full game here, but just wanted to show you that it's nice and smooth. Frame rates look good, and the actual load time is about 30 seconds or so. So that's it for the iPhone SE. Hopefully that helps you decide whether or not you should still pick one up. I think if you like this form factor, there's no reason not to pick it up. Like I said, good battery life, great design, and it's still super fast. Let me know your thoughts about it, though, in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.